showing the people who we are, because at the end of the day, like, they already kind of know who we are.
And they already watching. And
they already watching.
And you like what you just said. That's all of that. Everything you just said to me was content. Being a trans woman now, living in New York now. What was the transition? Them 3 shows right there.
Yeah, it's
beautiful. Where we are right now. So a lot of things. Yes.
Even when I was getting in drags and doing at this time, I was actually like living my life as like a masculine presenting butch queen. I had a job at a courthouse. I was like going by Nick. I literally could not be who I wanted to be. All my female clothes, all my makeup was hid underneath my bed, away from my parents to see. I also, at this time, I had already started doing porn. So it just I was having to hide who I was. It put me in this weird depressive state.
Yeah.
To where, I talked to my sister Legend. Shout out to Legend.
Okay.
We all know Legend.
Shout out to Legend.
Shout out to Legend. She's my sister. I've known her since I was in high school.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we've known
She's from Florida too?
From Florida. We had
wow.
the first. We share the same gay mama. Our first gay mama. Shout out to Josh.
Legend is one of the first people that I met when I arrived to New York City.
Mm-hmm.
Very sweet, very talented. I'm manifesting this. I want her on my show too. So you went back to Florida depressed because you couldn't be who you wanted to be.
And I started talking to Legend. I was starting to like confide in her and everything like that. But like it felt like within that year of me moving back to Florida, Legend was moving to New York. So before she left, of course, like us being real with each other, everything, she was like, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave you. Like she left me her hormones. She left me like her last like supply of hormones.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's like injection. She was like, girl, listen, this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna leave this with you. You don't have to take it now. When you ready, you're gonna have it. When you ready to start, you're gonna have it. And the funny thing is I never took them, but I ended up ordering my own set off of in-house pharmacy. But there would be times where I had them hormones sitting like underneath my thongs and my panties and stuff like that. And it'd be times I'll look at that and be like, damn girl, what the fuck you wanna do? Like that's literally what I was doing. And by time,
wow.
Like you said, your darkest hour is before the dawn, right?
Absolutely.
So I was talking to my sister Posh. Shout out to Ariel Mugler. She's the one who told me to go on in-house pharmacy. You get the Spiral, get the estradiol pill, I think I got 3 months supply. I want to say the next day after I took those pills, one of my friends in Atlanta passed away. Within that 2 weeks, I ended up making a decision like, girl, Legend been telling me to come to New York for a month. Not a month, a year. By the time she left, she was telling me like, girl, come to New York. You can figure your shit out here. You can literally like, I'm gonna be here with you. We can go through the process together, girl, da 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 da. Cool. I was nervous. I was scared. I had a good job at a courthouse. I'm just taking care of my grandparents at home. Like it was a lot that was somewhat keeping me back. And by the time I took that though, I felt like the universe just started working and started moving things into place to where like within 2 weeks after I took those pills, I ended up calling Legend like, girl, I just bought a ticket to Philly, girl, and I'm gonna come to New York. She was like, well, girl, you better get here by Monday, girl, because I get my face done on Tuesday. She's like, girl, I go in for my FFS on Tuesday, bitch. I want to say it was like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and I kid you not, I called her on a Thursday. My flight to Philly was on that Friday. I stayed in Philly that weekend, got silly. Monday, I was in New York. The next time I seen her, I think was Thursday, and that bitch was literally fresh off of FFS. But new face to everything. But like that should show you how quickly everything happened. Like as soon as I made the decision for myself, like this is what I want to do, shit just started working. Shit just started moving.
Because when you know what that is, it is that when you set an intention and you literally believe in that intention,
that's how you
things will start to move for you. And a lot of times we have to understand how powerful our minds is. If I said this on this show before and I'll say it again, I will say it consistently.
Mine is powerful.
Because our minds are so powerful. We control them if we control them. And sometimes they control us to protect us. So sometimes it'll allow you to stay home. Oh, I got my grandparents. I got this nice job. I shouldn't be trans. And no. I am trans. I am going to go to New York. I am going to create my own life, my own agenda.
A lot of people don't know I was in the church heavy. Like at that time, I grew up in the church. My grandmother was a deaconess. My grandfather was a deacon. He was on the finance team. She was church clerk, and she was like, oh, the Sunday school. And then I started playing the drums. I was singing in the choir. Then I started started playing piano. Then I started playing. I literally did all this, and then by time right before I moved away, I was literally playing piano full time for a church every Sunday.
But see, the thing about that is, you said you was doing porn with the guy from Tampa. So when did you start doing
all
porn?
of this at the same? I started doing porn.
Wait a minute, you was doing porn as a butch queen.
2020, yes.
You started in 2020?
Yeah, I think 2020.
Why?
I had situations where I had got exposed, and it kind of put me in a weird position where, like, one, I wasn't comfortable with my body and my sexuality, and like I didn't find myself attractive. So it was already weird, but I was dating this dude who he at the time, he did not have an OnlyFans. He was just big for posting his porn on Twitter. He was one of the Twitter freaks. Or had 100,000 followers, but he wasn't making no money off of it.
Really?
Yes, he was. Yes,
and that's okay, because that's his
that
business.
is okay.
You know what I mean?
But you know, when we started dating and stuff like that, I already kind of had started because I kind of wanted the money. I had went from insurance to like COVID, not working. By the time I had quit my insurance job, I was already in porn. But dating him, I was like, well, bitch, I want to record with you, but you not making no money off of it. I'm gonna make money off of it. And because he did not have, and because he did not have an OnlyFans, but he was so popular, I had the OnlyFans with the full clips. You had to subscribe to me.
Do what?
If you want to see it, you have to subscribe to me live. And you know, I blew up, and then I was doing my own collabs and everything like that. And literally, at first, I was hiding my face. And they ripped me up. I remember I was going by the real Amazon. So if you go and you look at my OnlyFans, it literally is still onlyfans.com/therealamazon. THE.
For y'all people that's interested in
like the real Amazon. And so my ad name on Twitter was the real Amazon. Them guys on Twitter ripped me up. Don't nobody want no tall bottom. You too skinny. You ain't got no ass. You got small. You fun side. Like, they was ripping me up. And one of the tweets was like, bitch, ain't nobody fucking no giraffe pussy. Get that off my timeline.
And so what you do?
Change my ad name to giraffe pussy with an underscore.
No, that's right.
And then I showed my face. Everybody already knew who I was. I've always had a following. They just did not know that was me behind that profile. Once I showed that face and changed that name to giraffe pussy, they was like, oh, that's you. Oh, we're subscribing. We're following. And like, it blew up from there, and I just capitalized on it. And I made sure I worked. A lot of people, like, I want to make sure I emphasize that. Especially once the question of me transitioning started to come up in my head, I immediately started to make an escape plan.
Okay.
Because I knew I was going to be able, if I was starting my transition in my head, I wanted to transition as a butch queen, and then, you know, eventually maybe go missing for a month and a half, 6 months, pop up in another state, now I'm the girl. But start my transition as a butch queen and like do it in my parents' house until I figure out my way out. But I knew I was going to be able to stay in my parents' house long, so once even the question mark came into my mind, I started saving my money using my OnlyFans. So by the time I moved to New York, I had $60K.
Wow.
That I had saved up just doing porn as a butch queen, literally knowing the entire time I wanted to be a girl. Especially like as we got closer to it, as close to that time where I'm really like, now I'm starting to take my, like, pop my pill. Specifically making sure I'm doing these collabs so I can like have money to make sure when I go to New York, I'm good. And when I got back from Atlanta that weekend, I was bearing my friend, had a collab or two up there, came back to Florida, still was working on my grind, sex working as well. Like, I was working, I was on my grind because I didn't want to go back to that job. I didn't want to go back home. I looked at that account and was like, oh, manual deposit. And then, who is it, Donald Trump? He over here like, okay, I got a stimulus for you. Ooh, that's another step.
Okay.
Like,
it's starting to come
then I had like 2 checks I had saved for my job. Like, I did what I needed to do to make sure my money was saved so that I was not coming to New York and gagging.
Would you change anything about how your escape plan was?
Absolutely not. Okay. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Like, I feel like everything happened for a reason. I've never hid who I was. It wasn't like I stopped doing porn and came back as the girl. I consistently kept doing it. I never hid who I would change nothing. I would change nothing because at the end of the day, like, I always say, like, with my transition, there's power in transitioning in a glass transparent cocoon. Everybody doesn't get the chance to see, like, it's beautiful in itself. Watching a caterpillar go into a cocoon and then come out as a butterfly. That in itself is beautiful. But if you're able to like look inside of the cocoon the entire time that metamorphosis is happening, that's beautiful. It's ugly, but it's also beautiful because you don't even get to see like the everyday change. I never once went away. I never turned my social media off. I never stopped posting. I never took it may have been like at the beginning of my transition I was taking like month gaps, but I still never stopped making sure that I was present and people saw me and people knew who I was, because at the end of the day, although I'm transitioning, I moved from Florida to New York, not just a transition, but I got shit that I want to do. I have goals. I want to model. I want to act. I want to do this. I want to do that. So I don't have time to like necessarily go away for a year, 2, 3, and pop back up with a facial film, a new body and tits, and a new name and a new personality, and then get to work. I have to keep working.
You got to keep working.
And even today, what I'm going through, I have to keep working.
You have to keep working. So with that being said, I want to ask you, do you have any surgeries? And if not, do you want to get any?
I have no surgeries. I do want to eventually get some. I think like when I get back, I've kind of like said, like when I get back from London, that might be the next chapter of my life. We're going to start like exploring those kind of things, but the idea of surgery in itself is so scary to me. Like it took me a while, even with transition. Like I was on pills for like 8-9 months before I had got on like the injection, because needles scare me. I don't even have tattoos. I'm ready to get my first tattoo. I got like 2 piercings now. So I'm ready to get like my first tattoo and stuff, but like needles getting cut open scares me. Surgery scare me. And now like anesthesia scares me.
Oh,
anesthesia scares me. I have to overcome my own fears about it, but it is something that they always say, like, you're going to know when you're ready.
You'll know when you're ready.
You're going to know when you're ready. And when I look in the mirror, I'll be like, yeah, girl, you ready, girl. Like, at first, I thought I was ready. And then, like, when the feeling actually came, I was like, okay, this is the feeling the girls are talking about. Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready. Speaking of stories, one of the stories we were just talking about was you said that you seen the movie, I believe it's called The Stroll.
The Stroll.
The Stroll. Shout out to Tabitha. Shout out to all the women in there,
Shout
specifically to Tabitha, because that's a person that I know that's in that film. What did you get when you seen the movie The Stroll? What did you feel?
I felt so many emotions. I knew I was going to feel emotions. And I feel like that's why it took me longer to watch it, because I had a lot going on, like with rehearsals for London and the breakup and all that stuff that I had going on leading up to like tomorrow, basically, essentially, that I didn't necessarily want to like not bring something negative into my space, but bring something that would like cause me to cry or bring about those kind of emotions. Like I didn't necessarily want to deal with those kind of emotions. I knew that was something I was going to feel.
Were they suppressed?
Yeah.
I ask that only because a lot of times what those type of films do is it shows you your reality.
Yeah.
And so like, I'm not a trans woman, but a lot of my girlfriends are trans. So to watch a film like that, it does make me cry. It does make me emotional. And those are my true feelings. But me personally, after I do it, I feel the release in this reality. And I'm just happy that we're able to be visible in such ways. And trans women are.
It was one of those things where like as a Black trans woman, I'm already aware of my proximity, right? Mm-hmm. Like seeing the movie, knowing what the movie is about, everything like that. But now you're watching it and I find out the same club that I go to all the time, that's the same club, that's the same like next block over, that's where the girls were. Mm-hmm. And these same girls who I went on a trans retreat and we talked about so many things on the trans retreat.
But not that.
I never once sat down and asked Egypt, let me tell you a story. Can you like just talk to me? Like, where you from? Like, what was your life like?
That's my job.
Like, but I never took that time out. Even with Auntie Tab, I never took that time out. And already having this fear when I started transition, you hear like your lifespan is shorter as a Black trans woman. Mm-hmm. And even my mama, who, when we talked about me being trans or whatever, first thing she said, like, I don't know much of anything about trans people or the lifestyle, anything like that, but I do know y'all die young. So when you have this overwhelming fear that might be you, especially knowing people who were killed young, and then you watch The Stroll and these people who you've interacted with and call your aunt and say that you love them and stuff like that. Now you're seeing their story and you're realizing they came from that era where even more of them didn't make it past a certain age. All of that The idea of
Trauma.
the idea of police chasing me off the Stroll where I work now, the Stroll where I was getting my money from is gone. Everybody going to prison and coming back, and all of your friends are dead. Like all these different stories, which are, it may not have happened to me, but there's proximity and closeness to me. That really, really tore me up, and it more so tore me up to like Sylvia said, and in her own community, essentially she felt like her community didn't give a fuck about her.
Well, they didn't, so we could say like,
you know, and they didn't, and they did not know
did
how,
not care about
those
her.
white people did not care. And I also feel like people did not know how to care. Even our own community, they weren't in a place where there was enough understanding to even know how to give a fuck, how to care. If you were a black trans person, you weren't going to know how to give a fuck. All of that was just very, very emotional. But I am really glad that I watched it, because like as a black trans woman, it just like really emphasized, one, my power, two, emphasize sisterhood and how important it is to uplift your sisters and to love on your sisters, and three, really, really emphasize how much we should cherish our elder trans women who are in our community. These people are still alive here today to vividly account all of this shit.
Which is incredible, because now we can have, it shows this evolution, and also it's a capsule. Thank you to the people of HBOs for capturing that story, because when you see it, it makes you care different. To your point, we don't know about it, so we don't know how to care. A lot of people don't even know that even happened.
Exactly.
So until we start putting what happened to us into art, into films, into books as history, education, and knowledge, they won't know. So that's why I have you here, because you're a new girl, and I want to know, how are the girls treating you coming into this scene, being from a different state, coming into the ballroom scene, and you want to Vogue too? How have you been embraced by the older, legendary, iconic femme queen performers?